This happens so often to business owners. You're running your business is thriving. You get an unsolicited phone call or an unsolicited email from someone claiming to be a franchise developer. They tell you how great your business is, how easy it is to franchise, how they can find franchise buyers for you. They tell you that you should hire them as a franchise developer, that they cover everything from A to Z: legal, accounting, franchise development, and marketing. So, what should you do? Well, you should proceed with caution, and I'll explain why. One of the most difficult phone calls I have is with struggling startup franchisors. They usually reach out to us to help them with their FDD, to help them reboot their franchise program. And when we're having a conversation, there's so many common elements that come up. Number one, that they worked with a franchise developer. Number two, that the franchise developer cold called them and convinced them to franchise their business. That the franchise developer promised to cover everything for them. They'll say covering everything from A to Z: FDD development, legal representation, legal trademark representation, accounting, preparation of operations manual, marketing, and franchise sales. So developer promises them everything. And for these hardworking business owners, if they haven't been involved in the franchising world before, it kind of makes sense. What it turns out is that the franchise developers, the people that are cold calling, are really selling business owners either on the dream of franchising or the widget of franchising. Meaning they're selling these business owners a package of everything, almost as if franchising were a widget. And what ends up happening is that these business owners end up getting everything, but nothing at the same time, meaning the operations manual is not good. The FDD doesn't reflect best practices. The franchise developer hires potentially an outside lawyer who's not directly accountable to this business owner. And the franchise sales never materialize. The franchise website sounds like everyone else and really doesn't work. And so what happens is that the way these business owners enter the franchise world is really with the wrong expectations and the wrong tools to build a thriving franchise system. So why am I doing this video? I am doing it just to let you know there's some really great franchise developers out there. They should be working with really great franchise lawyers who are directly accountable to you. They should not be cold calling you or soliciting you. And quite frankly, if they're doing that, my opinion is they're desperate, they're unethical. And if they can't attract you to reach out to them to help them franchise their business, how are they going to help you sell franchises? And it shouldn't be through cold calling. So when the situation comes up, the most harmful part is not the money that the business owner wasted or spent. And I have to tell you, many times, these business owners are taking out SBA loans and using other funds to pay the franchise developer. Now, investing in franchising, that's good, but it has to be for the right reasons. And you have to be paying for value. The calls I'll typically receive will be a new franchisor that says, "Hey, Charles, can you help me renew my FDD or update it?" And I'll take a look at the FDD. And one of the issues that almost always comes up is either there's no item 19 financial performance representation or it's a really bad one. And for those of you that don't know, in the franchising world, when you're selling franchises, if a potential franchise buyer asks, "How much money do you make?" or "How much money can I make?" you can't answer that question. The only thing you can do is in section or item 19 of your FDD, include financial information about your business. For example, what were last year's sales? What were your cost of goods sold? What was your gross profit? So you could answer to a franchise buyer, "Well, this is how much I made. This is what our gross profit was. This is the square footage of our restaurant, our business," or "This was the service territory we operated in." So it gives franchise buyers KPIs and metrics to help them evaluate how much they could potentially make. So now when I'm looking at these FDDs created by these franchise developers, a couple of things happen. Number one, sometimes I won't see an item 19 financial performance representation. And this happened very recently. So I asked the business owner why they don't have an item 19 financial performance representation. And she said she really didn't understand them, that she spoke to the franchise developer and they said she shouldn't include one. And then she spoke to the franchise developer's attorney and he advised her that you shouldn't include a financial performance representation because, number one, if your numbers are too good, it's going to give false expectations. And number two, if your numbers aren't good enough, well, then you're not going to sell franchises. Let's think about that philosophy here. Number one, best practices in the franchise world is you absolutely need an item 19 financial performance representation. Now, there's exceptions to what I just said, but they're very limited. Why do you need it? You need to be able to tell franchise buyers how much you make and important KPIs about your business. Now, in this scenario, they gave her the bad advice to say if your sales are too high, that creates false expectations. That's not true. You really need to disclose what you're earning. Now, if for some reason your business has a long operating history or there's something special about your business about why you're going to make so much more than a franchisee over time, well, then you need to reevaluate your item 19 and how you develop it. But there should be a disclosure. In this situation, when we evaluated the numbers that the person shared with me, they were too low. And my advice to her was that I don't think she's ready for franchising. Meaning she's doing great, the business is great, but when I looked at her numbers, whatever they were, and I won't be specific, whatever KPIs and whatever numbers for that person's industry, my advice was that you're probably 2 years away from being franchise ready, meaning your sales aren't competitive enough yet for your industry, right? Because when franchise buyers look at the sales, they need to be competitive. They need to be at the right level. And so in this case, I felt bad because my advice was you shouldn't franchise. Now, the advice given by the developer and the developer's lawyer was basically your numbers are too low, so don't show them. But that's not what this woman was about. She doesn't want to hurt someone else. She wants to be honest. In fact, we all should be. If your numbers aren't good enough to franchise, or if they're not good enough to publish an item 19, then you shouldn't be franchising. Doesn't mean ever, just means right now you may not be ready to franchise. What really irritated me about the conversation is the franchise developer doesn't care, or the young individuals that they're hiring to sell, the developer's sales team, cold calling, they don't care. They just wanted to sell. And their sell is to get a business owner to go take out an SBA loan or pay, their reserve capital to them to franchise the business without taking the time to say, hey, maybe you shouldn't franchise yet because your sales aren't high enough. This business owner didn't know any different, and she absolutely wants to do the right thing. We had a great conversation. I personally think she may be a couple of years away. So when I'm saying not to respond and not work with these companies that cold call or solicit you, it's because, in my opinion, not only is it unethical, but they have the wrong intentions. They want to sell you on the widget of franchising. The other issue that you need to be aware of, there's great franchise developers out there. We work with them all the time. Our team does legal and franchise development together. And that's the unique value we provide to our clients. But there's great franchise developers out there where you need to be cautious. And my advice, never hire a franchise developer that promises to do everything for you, A to Z. Because if someone does everything, they don't do anything good, right? They're promising their sales pitch is don't go work with a good franchise law firm directly. And our firm does legal plus franchise development. But work with us because we're going to do everything. Pay us one fee. We're going to cover legal. We're going to cover accounting. We're going to cover franchise development. We're going to cover marketing. We're going to cover operations manual. So they package everything. It sounds great. And you get just that, a package, everything and nothing done well, nothing at best practices levels. And they're desperate for sales, selling you as a business owner. What they also promise is that they're going to do your franchise sales. What they don't tell you is that franchise sales are difficult. They need to evolve over time. So it's almost the thought and the pitch, pay us money. We cover everything, A to Z, franchise your business. We're going to do sales. And now, how do I know all this? Because 6, 12, 18 months later, these hardworking business owners realize something's not right, something's off, I need to reset. And many times we have situations where a new brand doesn't have an item 19 and their sales are stellar. So again, it's not even wasting money, it's the wasted time that these franchise developers cause. So let's go into some fundamentals that you should keep in mind. One, my strong advice, don't work with anyone who cold calls you. I don't care who they are, franchise developer, lawyer. No one should be cold calling you. Everyone should be busy helping their clients grow because that indicates their focus on long-term vision, right? If they're cold calling you, that means they're there to sell you. They're selling you on a widget. And certainly, if they promise to do everything for you, FDD, legal, trademarks, accounting, marketing, sales, operations manual, that's a really big warning sign. In my opinion, unethical. In my opinion, that it could even be illegal, but it's a warning sign for you. I would not work with that type of organization. Other fundamental, keep in mind that franchise success and winning at franchising. And I think this is the biggest miss that occurs because franchise developers position franchising the wrong way. I'm talking about the cold calling franchise developers, and they give these startup franchisors the wrong mindset. So it's sort of misdirection. Franchise success and winning at franchising requires a long-term strategy, requires a 1, 2, 3, 5-year vision. You're going to franchise your business in a 90-day process. While you're franchising your business, you should be working on your franchise brand positioning. These franchise developers, when you look at the websites, maybe they're advertising what the startup expense is of the franchise. They use generic terms about we'll provide training and we have open territories, other nonsense that doesn't move the needle with franchise buyers. You should be working on your founder story, everything that's made your business successful, how your business has transformed your life, and what your website's going to look like. So long-term success, 1, 2, 3 to 5-year vision. Within 90 days, you should be franchising your business, going from where you are today to becoming a franchisor ready to sell franchises. But your first year, your first 2 years should be viewed as a seasoning process for your franchise brand, where in 90 days, we issue your FDD, you launch your franchise. Whereas during that first 6-month period, you're launching your franchise sales website with a great founder video and great content, where you focus on selling just to people that know your business organically, customers, and others that are within the organic reach of your brand, to onboarding your first 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 franchisees organically, maybe over a 2-year period. The key is you onboard them, you over support them, they succeed. If they succeed, their numbers get reflected in your FDD and item 19. They validate your franchise offering. They set you up to grow. Years 3 to 5 are those acceleration and growth years. So it really needs to be organic. And when you're going through this process, you as the founder and your leadership team is what's going to make your franchise successful. So you need to learn franchising. You need to work with a team that's going to support you, that's going to help you integrate into the franchise world, the franchise community, provide you with tools and resources to learn franchising and to grow over time. And I see it time and again. We have clients that started with no locations or they're only corporate ones and have grown to over 100. And what you see, well, they franchise the right way from the start. They apply a mindset of learning franchising themselves, meaning they'll start coming to broker conferences, they'll come to networking events, we'll meet up at national events. Years 1 and 2, they focus on their organic growth. They focus on a powerful brand message, a powerful founder story. They start building relationships with brokers, and years 1, 2, 3 could be very slow. And sometimes just selling 10 franchises. But then these brands where the founders are engaged, all of a sudden years 3 to 5 become very significant growth factors. And we've seen clients grow and only sell 10 franchises in the first 4 years, and then in year 4 or 5 or 6, sell 70. because they're positioning for growth. And I think that's one of the biggest things that these developers harm is when they're cold calling you like this, they're not giving you insight into the mindset and strategy for winning long-term at franchising. And that's what it's all about. You can succeed at franchising. You need to do it the right way. You need to do it with a long-term vision. And my advice, stay away from anyone who cold calls you.